Hey, welcome back, seventh graders. All right, so today what we're going to work on is we're going to work on understanding the basic parts of a flower or a flowering plant. Now, what you're going to notice is I've got 11 terms up here on the board. The first thing you want to do is you guys want to get those terms written down. Okay, so as you can see over on the side over there, I've got them numbered 1 through 11. I'm going to go ahead and fill out the chart doing the same exact thing. So for instance, number 1 is going to be the function of the petals. Number 2, the function of the anther, and so on and so on. If you want to set your notes and your diagram up to be different, that's fine. You could put the words here and then make another column and then put the function, and that's okay. You guys do it how you feel you are going to be able to use it the best. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the different parts of this particular set of plant parts here, and we're going to get the function for each and every one. Now, what's going to happen is attached to this video is going to be a PDF file. That PDF file is going to be a diagram that you guys are going to use to go ahead and you're going to actually fill in with these parts over here on that diagram. It's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 like I have it listed here. They are jumbled up a little bit. So you guys are going to have to go ahead and try to figure out what part is going to go with which number. All right, sorry guys, I had to pause it, make a little adjustment to make it a little easier for you guys to see me and what I'm doing up here. Anyway, as I was saying, you guys are going to take that little diagram that I provided for you. You're going to use these 11 terms and you're going to try to figure out what parts they are. If you can't figure that out, there are a ton of resources online, or go ahead and shoot me one. What I will probably do then at the start of Wednesday's assignment, I'll probably go ahead and just attach a document showing the correct answers. I know it's kind of cheating, but that way you guys can kind of compare them to them. I don't think you'll have too much problem once you get going with it here, okay? All right, so here we go, guys. Let's get started with these 11 different parts of a flower. And we're going to go through each of the functions for each one. I'm going to try to keep it fairly short. Let's start with our very first one, and that's going to be the petals here. So petals is going to correspond to number 1. The main function of the petals of a flower are to attract pollinators. Guys, the reason flowers are so brightly colored is because they're going to attract insects and other things that are actually going to want to transfer that pollen so the plant can reproduce. That is the petal's main function. It is to attract pollinators. Who'd known, right? Okay, part number 2, the anther. The anther is the part that produces the pollen grain. What you're going to find is that the anther is going to look like a little seed, but it's going to be close to the outside of the flower. It's not going to be in the very center of the flower. It's going to be closer to the outside of the flower. And most of the time it's being held by a really, really, really thin little strand. That actually takes us right into the third one, because that third one is going to be the filament. And the filament's main job is simply to hold up the anther. So what you're going to see is you're going to see something that's going to look a little bit like this coming off the flower. There's going to be this itty bitty little thing, and then there's going to be this tiny little piece, almost like a circle or kind of like a seed that's growing off of that. That is the anther. This is going to be the filament. Okay? All right. Number 4, the ovary. The ovary's main function is to produce ovules, and ovules are going to be the structures that are going to eventually become the seeds for that plant to be able to grow from. Most of the time, they're going to be found right towards the ovary, is going to be found very close to the center of the plant. It almost looks like the bottom part of a vase. So most of you guys know what a vase looks like. It kind of looks like this, and then rounds out at the bottom before it comes back up. This part right here is where all of those structures are going to be produced, the ovules. That is the ovary for that particular plant, okay? All right, moving on. Number 5 is called the pistil. Now, guys, this is a term. It's not the pistol like pew pew type pistol. Okay, that's P-I-S-T-O-L. This is P-I-S-T-I-L. The pistil is actually all of the parts that make up the female reproductive part of a flower, and there are 3 parts that do that: the ovary, the stigma, and the style. And we'll get to those other 2 in just a bit. But the pistil itself, guys, those are going to be the female reproductive, and I'm going to use the word organs, even though technically it's not an organ, but it's a good word for us to use. So the pistil is going to be the female reproductive organs, all 3 of those parts that I just said, okay? All right, moving on here, we have the receptacle. So number 6, the receptacle is an attachment point for the flower. This is what attaches the flower to the stem. Most of the time, it's going to be a round structure right at the base of the flower or right at the top of the stem, and that's going to be that part that attaches to it. So if you guys like to pop the heads off of like dandelions, the part that you're actually flicking off, it's not just the flower itself, that's actually the receptacle that's coming loose from the stem, okay? All right, number 7 is called the sepal. The sepal is a protective covering for the flower. So it's actually a lot of cases, what you're going to see when a flower opens, they have these green petals that will fold downward. Okay, those are the sepals. So when a flower is closed, the petals that are covering that green petals that are covering that flower before it blooms, those are the sepals. Okay, so they provide protection for the growing flower. So when you get to your diagram, guys, look for flowers, or excuse me, look for parts of the flower that are maybe pointed downward more towards the base of that particular flower, because guys, that's going to be the sepal. They fold out of the way when that flower actually ends up opening up. Okay. Number 8, the stamen. The stamen is the word that we use to describe the male reproductive organs. There are 2 of them. We've already actually outlined them. They are the anther and the filament. So those 2 things together make up the male portion of the plant. So these are the male reproductive, whoops, can't spell today, organs. And again, there are 2 of them. Anther and filament are what make that up, okay? All right, getting down there. Number 9, the stem. Well, this one's kind of a no-brainer. What does the stem do, guys? It holds the flower up. Okay, there's a couple different types of stems that we can have. One of them is a herbaceous stem, which means that it's kind of soft. We find those on a lot of our flower types. So think about a dandelion, how soft that stem is, and it's really easy to squish. The other one is called a woody stem. So when we get to plants like a tree or a shrub of some kind, those that are a lot stiffer, those are going to be that woody type of stem, but they are there to help hold up the leaves, the flowers, anything that that plant is actually going to be using to get up off the ground, okay? Number 10, the stigma. And we're going to actually go ahead and kind of put both of these last 2 together, the stigma and the style. Because guys, they actually do serve a part. They are part of the female reproductive organ. But what you're going to notice here, guys, is that the stigma is going to be the top of this vase. So remember, if we go back here up to the ovary, the bottom part here where the ovules are produced is the ovary. This top portion is going to have a little different structure to it. It almost kind of looks something about like this in a lot of them. Well, this part right up here, that's the stigma, okay? And the stigma's main purpose is it is a sticky part to collect pollen. So when a pollinator lands on a flower, all this pollen gets attached to its body. As it flies to the next flower, that pollen is being redistributed to the stigma of that particular plant. So the stigma, again, is a female portion of the plant itself. It's one of the three parts with the ovary and the style, which is the last one we're going to do here. And the style, guys, then is going to be the neck. The style is the part that connects the stigma to the ovary. So it's right here. It's this long, kind of slender part. Remember that the female part's always at the center of a flower. So guys, when you're looking on your diagram, look towards the middle of that flower. But the style is going to be the tube that's connecting the stigma to that ovary. And mainly, guys, its function is it's a transport tube. And what is it actually transporting? Well, guys, it's transporting the pollen down to the ovary so that the ovules can be germinated. Basically, I guess is a word we could use to describe that. So that the ovules can then be turned into the seeds that that plant can use to help it grow. Okay, so here is our chart again. We've outlined the 11 different plant or flower parts over here. We've talked about their functions right here. What you are going to have to do to finish this up is you're going to have to take those 11 terms and you're going to have to complete the diagram that I've included for you guys. I'll go ahead and I'll try to post up the answers maybe tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me either through email. If you're really struggling with this and not understanding the concept of it, well, then we can go ahead and we could even do a Zoom call if you really need to. All right, guys, that's the parts of a flower. We're going to come back tomorrow on Wednesday. You're going to take a look at 3 different types of carnivorous plants. And then we are going to start Thursday and Friday getting started on photosynthesis and balancing chemical equations. All right. Peace out, man.